uses someone else's formula free of charge can sell the same pill for 35 cents and still make a profit. Somebody has to pay the high cost of discovery, or the development of new drugs will be slower, and therefore more people will needlessly suffer and die. While allowing patent laws to be overridden by politicians allows some people to buy the drug at low prices, based on the low current costs of manufacturing the medicine, that just leaves the far greater overhead costs of creating these medicines to be paid by others. Worst of all, it leaves the even higher costs of needless pain, suffering, and premature death to be paid by those whose relief is delayed for years by policies like these, which slow down the development of new medicines to cure their afflictions. The United States has been one of the few countries resisting political pressures to impose price controls on pharmaceutical drugs, or to water down the patent laws which allow the original discoverer of new drugs to have a monopoly for a fixed number of years, so as to recover the costs of discovery before other companies get to use their formula free of charge. The United States also produces a wholly disproportionate share of all the new life-saving drugs in the world. But politicians ignore this connection. Other countries have scientists capable of developing new medicines, but the economics and politics of the situation discourage companies in those countries from making the huge investments made by American pharmaceutical companies under American patent law. Unfortunately, the Bush administration has recently begun to cave in to the demagogues at home and abroad. After congressional liberals like Ted Kennedy, Henry Waxman, and Charles Schumer began making noises about a need to get the drug Cipro cheaper because of the anthrax scare, the administration threatened to override the patent for the drug unless the manufacturer supplied it at a cheaper rate. The retail price of Cipro was $5 a pill, and the government itself says that someone stricken with anthrax needs to take 2 pills a day for 5 days, and cheaper antibiotics thereafter. Is $50 too much to pay to save your life? And is it worth jeopardizing a whole system that has made this country the leading creator of life-saving drugs, just to get the demagogues off the Bush administration's back politically? The administration also caved at a recent international conference in Qatar, where foreign countries gained the right to set aside international patent agreements whenever they chose to decree a public health emergency. This allows them a free ride on costly American research, at least until they kill the goose that lays the golden egg, new life-saving medicines in this case. The real revolutionaries. The 20th century was, among other things, a century of revolutions, not only bloody uprisings and military coups, but also revolutions in science, politics, and in the way people live. However, as much as the political left loves to use words like change and revolution, as if they had a monopoly or a copyright on them, the actual track record of the left pales in comparison with the social revolutions created by the free market. No government of the left has done as much for the poor as capitalism has. Even when it comes to the redistribution of income, the left talks the talk, but the free market walks the walk. What do poor people most need? They need to stop being poor. How can that be done? On a mass scale? Except by an economy that creates vastly more wealth. Yet, the political left has long had a remarkable lack of interest in how wealth is created. As far as they are concerned, wealth exists somehow, and the only interesting question is how to redistribute it. The history of the American economy in the 20th century was an incredible story of the luxuries of the rich becoming commonplace among the masses and even the poor. When liberal and radical intellectuals speak of a period of change, they almost never mention the 1920s, because it was not an era of the kinds of political change they favor. But it was a pivotal decade of change in the material well-being and expansion of the horizons of most Americans, including the poor. It was during the 1920s that electricity, the automobile, and radio reached the masses, when motion pictures came of age and began to talk. While technology and mass production spearheaded the changes of the 1920s, this was also a decade that saw a revolution in more efficient distribution systems through grocery and department store chains that brought the costs of many goods and services down within the reach of ordinary Americans.